very much and welcome this day. I'm William Morton, the principal here at John Glenn High School. Welcome you this day for the John Glenn High School commencement ceremony. The commencement ceremony will be available online probably after about 5 o'clock today. If you would like to share that with some of your relatives who are unable to be here, please do so. I would like to announce that after the closing today, after the recessional, that seniors will be located in the auxiliary gym, which is to the east of here. You may find them there in order to meet them. Parents and friends, you may exit through either exit of the gymnasium when it is time to go. If you so choose, you may exit out these doors as well and find your way back in just to the north. And now staying seated, would you please prepare for the processional of the John Glenn High School class of 2018.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alex Ross, the president of the class of 2018, and on behalf of John Glenn High School and the members of the senior class, we welcome you to our annual commencement ceremony. We are privileged to have all of you in attendance today to honor and recognize the class of 2018. Before today's program begins, the class of 2018 requests that the audience remain seated throughout the entire ceremony until the graduates have completed the recessional. Finally, we ask that you silence all cell phones and electronic devices in order to preserve an atmosphere of honor and respect. Now, would you please stand and join us as the senior members of the combined choirs sing the national anthem.
Good afternoon. I am Chris Mannering, the assistant principal at John Glenn. At this time, if we could, before I do introductions, if I could invite the senior class members of the combined choirs to move to your position for your upcoming song. Go ahead. At this time, I would like to introduce to you the people sharing the stage on this day. Mr. Richard Reese, Superintendent of John Glenn School Corporation. Mrs. Janice Ryan, President of the John Glenn School Corporation Board of Trustees. Mr. Dennis Holland, Vice President of the John Glenn School Corporation Board of Trustees. Mr. Christian Maddox, Secretary of the John Glenn School Corporation Board of Trustees. Mr. Robert Borlick, member of the John Glenn School Corporation Board of Trustees. Mr. Kurt Pletcher, member of the John Glenn School Corporation Board of Trustees. Mr. William Groves, member of the John Glenn School Corporation Board of Trustees. Mr. Jeff Johnson, member of the John Glenn School Corporation Board of Trustees. Mrs. Beth Schmeltz, John Glenn High School Guidance Counselor. Mrs. Sarah Rippey, John Glenn High School Guidance Counselor. Mrs. Patty Slough, John Glenn High School teacher and class of 2018 sponsor. Mrs. Julie Parent, John Glenn High School teacher and class of 2018 sponsor. To my left and scattered about this room are the many teachers and staff members of John Glenn High School. And to the many of you who have come from near and far, we are especially glad that you are here on this day. welcome again. Finally, I would like to identify the students in the senior class that have made the commitment to serve in the different branches of the United States military. Those of you who have made the commitment to protect our freedoms, stand and be recognized. We congratulate the class of 2018 for placing importance on hard work and dedication to academic studies. Thank you.
Members of the class of 2018, parents, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty and staff members, and friends of John Glenn High School. You often serve as a mirror to other people. You and I get reflections of ourselves from one another all the time. And so for a moment, may I serve as your mirror. Today, you are among the very best dressed. Caps and gowns. Around the world, this is what graduates from a high school, from a college or university wear. You didn't make the choice to wear the uniform. Tradition did. The significance of the cap and gown is explained on the back side of your program.
Take it back to the 1500s. Everyone does this. The cap and the gown are a sign of your accomplishment. They're a sign of your knowledge. But beyond that, they're a sign of your responsibility. Think about how we emphasize what you wear in life. These thoughts are really inspired by a spiritual director of Oak Ridge Church in North Carolina, Dr. C.T. Cocker. There end up being my words, but a couple, particularly the story at the end. We push this idea of dressing well. You know, look the part. If you are a thinker, you're probably saying, well, Mr. Morton, there's so much more than the shallowness regarding what we wear to cover up ourselves. And you are so right. Hopefully you've learned this through all the lessons here, literature, history, mathematics, music, art, or the lessons beyond. The lesson that the outside doesn't really matter as much or matter. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Do I have to be the best dressed of us all? Of course not. Mirror, mirror on the wall, isn't there something so much more important after all? Yes. Over time, many books, many philosophers, many great teachers have taught what really is important. There's a different type of clothing that is the pathway to your real successes of life. And this clothing isn't available at Walmart or Macy's or online. Wearing this stuff that I'm about to share, and it's well known, wearing this apparel will make you the finest firefighter, the finest construction worker, the finest salesperson, teacher, medical worker, homemaker, musician, computer scientist, you name it. The writers of the bestseller in the world have said that when you get dressed every day, slip on your kindness kicks. You know, your shoes. Be compassionate, be kind. Dress with your service socks. Servant socks. Be in service to other human beings. Put on your decency duds. Do it better than we've been doing it. Be more civil. When getting dressed before going out into the sun, put on your humility hat. Be humble. Be humble. In other words, clothe yourself in love. Love is the highway to all of the successes of life. There's a remarkable scene, and I close with it, from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Harry Potter, an extremely promising young man, promising wizard, attends Hogwarts, the school like this, known for being so good. That school was known for preparing the very best young wizards. Harry is alone. He's an orphan due to the fact that earlier in his life his parents passed away. The death of anyone with whom, any creature of God with whom you've had a loving relationship, brings enormous difficulties and pain. And so one day Harry was thinking deeply, and he wandered into the attic of the school, and he came upon this magical mirror. The most magical mirror. It's the mirror that gave or gives a person a reflection of his deepest desires. And when Harry Potter looked into the mirror, he saw himself at that moment not alone, but standing there were his parents beside him. It made him feel whole. He felt hands on his shoulders for a moment, and so he turned both directions, and no one was there. Sadness, and he was in a stupor. And with that, Dumbledore, the wise teacher and wizard, walked into the attic, and Dumbledore saw a sad Harry, a young man staring into that mirror of desires. And Dumbledore, in his wisdom, said to Harry, "Only when you see yourself as you are, beyond the trappings, when you see yourself as you really are, can you truly be happy." May you be happy this day and always. May you take your knowledge that you've attained about kindness, service, decency, humility, love, and be wise. Go forth from this great place, from this house, to make the best decisions for your own life and the best decisions as you give to the world. Mirror, mirror on the wall, how can I be the best dressed after all? Well, find a person you accept as a mirror in your life, or get to the full-length mirror that you have and think about who you really are. Think about where you've been. Think about all of the great lessons you've ever learned. Think about for whom you are grateful because of the endless support and love. And finally, think about that rich yet so inexpensive clothing that you may wear for every remaining day of your life, and I guarantee it. I guarantee that you will have ecstasy and the most peaceful life. Look the part, but dig deep, and always live the part. May God richly bless you forever and ever. The John Glenn High School class of 2018 salutatorian is awarded to Robert Austin Berger. Robert is the son of Rob Berger, and Robert is the brother to Cassie Berger. Robert is a member of the National Honor Society. Rob has played baseball here at John Glenn High School for the 4 years. He's also played 10 years of travel league baseball and 3 years of Legion Post baseball. The word is baseball. And after his academics. And after his 7th semester at John Glenn High School, Rob's GPA is 4.235. Rob plans to attend Lincoln Trail College in Robinson, Illinois, for the purpose of majoring in sports management, and he plans to play baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, an honor to present Mr. Robert Austin Berger.
Good afternoon. Well, we finally made it. After 12 long years of schooling, we are finally done. This is a very bittersweet feeling. Knowing that we'll be working toward a career in the next coming years is very exciting. But then there's the truth that some of us won't ever come back here again. I know for sure I'm going to miss John Glenn. The summer before freshman year, I decided to go to John Glenn almost 2 weeks before the school year started. I knew absolutely no one. I was even taken to school by 2 people I have never even met before. Thank you, Alex and Andrew Holderbaum. I know that was pretty weird for you guys too. For the first day of school, I was extremely nervous. The scariest part about being the new kid by far is, where am I going to sit at lunch? But I soon realized how welcoming the people here truly are, and needless to say, I got it figured out. Coming to John Glenn was probably one of the best decisions I have made in my life. I would like to thank the staff and administration for making this place what it is. Throughout my 4 years at John Glenn, I have participated by playing on the baseball team. Like from many sports, I have learned many lessons just by playing. First off, I have learned that baseball is probably one of the dumbest sports I have ever played. Don't get me wrong, I love baseball, but how a person who fails 70% of the time is considered successful does not make much sense to me. Anyway, I have learned that, like in baseball, it's all about how you look at failure. If you let failure tear you apart, you can never succeed. The way the school year and life in general is so up and down, you must look at failure as a lesson or a learning experience. Ask yourself, what did I do wrong? What can I learn from this? How can I improve? Success is walking from failure with no loss of enthusiasm. This school has been a special place to me. From cheering on the football team in the fall, to the 3 days of Halloween, to the school plays, to watching the baseball team in the spring, and even to today, there's always been this large feeling of a community. My dad and I talked a lot about where to go to high school. By far, his major concern was, where was I going to have the best high school experience? Without a second thought, this place was the first that came to mind. The community here is like no other. The number of people who support the sports, the number of people who support the performing arts, the number of people who are here for anything, it is truly unbelievable. I am extremely grateful to be part of the John Glenn family. The way this place accepts others is unlike any other. Lastly, I would like to thank my dad. My dad has done anything and everything he could do to make my sister and me successful. He has taught me everything I know, and I'm proud to call him my dad. Well, this is the next step towards our future. Let's make the most of it. Thank you.
John Glenn High School and its class of 2018 are pleased to announce that this year's valedictorian is Mr. Alex Ross. Alex is the grandson of Leroy and Catherine Ross. Throughout his high school career, Alex has been a faithful participant in tennis, track and field, the Spanish Club, the League of Extraordinary Falcons, the Student Council, and he has served this year as the senior class president and serves on the board of not only his class, obviously, but the National Honor Society and the Falcon Fury. Alex is involved faithfully with the North Liberty Church of Christ youth group. Alex GPA is 4.397 after 7 high school semesters. Alex plans to attend Anderson University in Anderson, Indiana, for the purpose of studying computer science. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to present to you the #1 student academically of this class, Mr. Alex Ross.
Well, that was a little awkward. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming to our graduation today. I have a lot of respect for my compatriot, Rob. He was a star of our baseball team. He's even going to play baseball in college. That's cool, right? I think baseball is a really awesome sport. It reminds me of tennis in a lot of ways. Many of the mechanics in each sport are similar, and it's not uncommon for a competition in each to last 3 hours or more. I mean, a tennis match doesn't usually include 2 hours and 42 minutes of doing essentially nothing. But other than that, a lot of things are the same. I'm just kidding, by the way. Our baseball team won our sectional 2 years in a row, started this season ranked 7th in the state, so that's pretty good. But I'd like to talk about tennis for a little bit. I've played tennis since 8th grade. I've never had much luck playing sports, and believe me, I've tried a lot of them. But this one stuck with me. I think part of the reason I love tennis so much is that it's an individual sport, and so much of it is mental rather than physical. I know this is also true of other sports, but tennis is a primary example of a sport that is mentally driven. It is also relatable to life on a broader scale. I feel that you can compare a lot of tennis match situations to some sort of counterpart in the real world, and I think it's worth talking about. When it comes to a tennis match, there are days when you're really feeling it. The days when you win games without even letting your opponent score any points, when you win games by serving 4 aces in a row, when you can rip a winner from any position on the court and it feels like you can't miss. These days feel great. You feel like you can't lose. There are also those days that are the exact opposite. Days when you double fault an entire game, when you can't seem to hit a good shot inside the court, so you try to take a little pace off of your shots, and you still hit them out regardless. Days when you just aren't feeling it and nothing is going your way. Anyone who has played tennis for any length of time knows how it feels to mess up an overhead. It's the easiest shot in tennis. You hit the ball into the net or hit it way out or maybe even whiff it completely. Not that I've ever done that, but I'm just saying that there are a lot of people that have. You feel terrible, like such a failure. How could you miss the easiest shot in the game of tennis? Now you're ready to quit the match, quit the team, go home, and never touch a tennis racket again. But hold on. Any coach is going to tell you that you need to forget about what you just did and move on. Yeah, easy for them to say. Thanks, coach. But seriously, if you dwell for even a moment on what you just did, then it's going to bleed into the next point. If you continue to think about it, then it's going to mess up more than just the next point. It could impact the next game, set, or even the entire match. Then, there you are. You've taken a minor issue that should have been inconsequential and made it into a huge deal. You've let it dictate the outcome of future events that shouldn't have had anything to do with it. In my experience, it seems like this phenomenon is all too common in our lives, more generally speaking. Often, the least important issues get blown way out of proportion. I know as well as anyone how easy it is to dwell on the little things. It's very tempting to make a big deal about them. And when this happens, other people are usually affected too. If you really think about it, though, isn't this sort of the same thing as that missed overhead? Just like letting that problem affect the next game in your tennis match, you're letting this small conflict damage your interpersonal relationships. Something I've learned during high school that I never could have learned by reading my physics book or by taking notes in calculus is the sheer power of compassion. I know we've all been told this before. Sometimes the littlest things can make the biggest difference. Reaching out to someone, making a friendly comment, or giving a compliment can mean more than you think. But I experienced these sorts of things personally. I used to be a completely different person. Before high school, I kept to myself pretty much all the time. Sports never really appealed to me, and I was too lazy to get involved in any extracurricular activities. Every day after school, I would just go home and seclude myself in my room for the rest of the evening. It wasn't all bad. I realized my passion for computers. I taught myself to program, and it made choosing a college major pretty easy for me. Keeping to myself allowed me to constantly focus on my schoolwork, which was a big reason I developed such a dedicated attitude toward my academic life. Outside of playing tennis, this was me during my freshman and sophomore years too. This sort of lifestyle had its benefits, but it created a greater number of problems. It led to some pretty bad anxiety because I wasn't really doing anything with my life. Every day I had a tennis match, I would be horribly stressed all day. 8th grade track was a nightmare. I'd almost have a panic attack before every meet. That was actually why I didn't run track my first 2 years of high school. Heck, I would physically tremble before doing the littlest things. I grew distant from most of my friends, and I definitely had a severe lack of development in my social life. But during high school, especially my latter years, this all changed. I think the reason that all this change happened is that I experienced the compassion I talked about earlier. My closest friends overwhelmed me with kindness. One evening, one of my best friends sent me a bunch of encouraging texts telling me how much they cared about me. This probably seems like such a small, inconsequential action, It didn't take much effort to say those things, especially over a text message. But for me, for someone who had never been told these things before to any capacity, it meant a lot. I remember how uplifted I felt after reading those messages. It made my whole week. Without a doubt, compassion changes lives. Over the course of that year, as well as this year, there were a lot of other things like that. All the friendly conversations, the times I was invited to go places, the affectionate hugs, the little warm gestures. It all added up. It turned me into who I am today. Now I'm able to give a speech like this, and I don't get overly worked up about it. So I want to thank all of my friends because they taught me a lot. They taught me that the mistakes you make in life don't really matter when you have people that care about you so much and that you can turn to no matter what. For me, this whole realization started just because of those little gestures I talked about earlier. So, as hard as it might be to believe, the small things you do for others really are significant, even if it might not seem like it in the moment. Over time, those things will turn you into a more caring person, and they just might have a greater impact on someone's life than you think. That was how it was for me, anyway. That's definitely the most important thing I've learned in high school. Having said all this, during my tenure at John Glenn, I have experienced how invaluable it is to appreciate those people in your life that you're closest with. It's inevitable that you'll miss an overhead at some point while you're playing tennis, just like it's inevitable that you'll have some interpersonal conflicts in life. In the tennis match, you've got to forget about the error and move on. Just the same, it's best to forget about your minor life issues and to continue to be compassionate with those you are closest with, because then, as you build each other up, you'll end up with the most wonderful friendships you can imagine. So, I want to thank my friends in front of me, but of course, I couldn't be the person I am today without my grandparents over there, who gave me everything I needed to be successful. And I couldn't end this speech without extending my deepest gratitude to all the teachers and staff members here at John Glenn, Mr. Morton, and the rest of the administration. Thank you to everyone in this gymnasium today for coming to our graduation ceremony. Thank you to everyone who has helped me to be the person who I am, who has helped the school, who has helped my friends who are graduating with me today. Now, instead of applauding for me, could I just ask that we think about those in our lives who have helped us, been there for us, who we appreciate the most? And could we instead dedicate this applause to them? Thank you so much.
it is time to graduate. Members of the class of 2018, will you please prepare yourselves for graduation? Superintendent Richard Reese, I present to you the membership of those meeting the requirements to graduate in the class of 2018.
Mr. Morton, I have examined the high school records of all of the members of the John Glenn class of 2018, and I find that these students have completed the necessary local and state requirements for graduation from John Glenn High School. Mrs. Janice Ryan, President of the John Glenn School Board of Trustees, will award diplomas to the members of the class of 2018. I ask Mrs. Sarah Rippey and Mrs. Beth Smeltz, John Glenn High School guidance counselors, to call the class roll.
The junior class marshals, Gabe Weiss and Taylor Murray, have taken their positions for the purpose of moving our seniors to graduation.
Alex Leroy Ross. Robert Austin Berger. Patrick George Stewart. Trevor Matthew Weiss. Jack R.A. Hostetler. Elizabeth Danielle Sarber. Abigail Marie Schmidt. Cassie Renee Rao. Delaney Grace Patterson. Jessica Leanne Peterson. Julia Marie Adams. Alexa Hope Allen. Blake Edward Anderson. Alyssa K. Eric. Deanna Iris Trinette Babcock. Tyler Allen Bajer. Colin Everett Barker. Geneva Christine Benke. Taylor Jessica Burke. Nathaniel Devin Blodgett. Benjamin Michael Borkowski. Benjamin Wyatt Boyer. Summer Renee Brantley. Sean David Carlin. John Vitor Monteiro Chagas. Kelsey Lynn Clady. Emma Marie Clark. Julia Christine Clark. Christine Lynn Corbett. Cameron Alexander Creed. Megan Ann Seigert. Henry Michael Davis. Maria Lynn Denham. Melinda Ruth Dodson. Taylor Nicole Donor. Nicholas James Domakaitis. Carly Ann Donathan. Elizabeth Jacqueline Jevietsky. Brenna May Eggendorfer. Tucker Boone Ennis. Mackenzie Marie Faulkner. Michaela Lynn Faulkner. Jamie Lorraine Freeman. Lois Kathleen Fry. Samuel Eli Fujawa. Nicholas Jacob Glennon. Garrett Richard Glon. Paco Elias Gonzalez. Dakota Lynn Grossman. Riley Madison Groves. Maya Noel Hayes. Cale Ronald Hensley. Colt Patrick Hensley. Alexander Michael Holderbaum. Casey Lee Holderreed. Cabralyn Alexia Hooton. Angelica Marie Hughes Henry. Clayton Tyler Humphrey. Hannah Nicole Eigel. James Patrick Jensen. Sandra Cruz Jensen. Adriana Jimenez. Caleb Richard Johnson. Ashley Marie Jones. Delaney Louise Kneisner. Victoria Elizabeth Krause. Josie Marie Kronwitter. Tony Michael Kronk.
Benjamin Kenneth Franklin Lambert. Mason Alexander Lang. Marissa Nicole Lee. Elijah Paul Leodansky. Madison June Limerick. Michael Joseph Macknick. Vanessa Wael Abdurkader Taha Mahmood. Philip Lee Merrick II. Tiffany Lynn McCoy. Jacob Dean McElroy. Ashley Lynn McKesson. Hannah Lauren McLaughlin. Julia Rose May Murica. Austin Richard Miller. Tyler James Miller. Sarah Elizabeth Grace Moonen. Jacob Dawson Morris. Patrick Raymond Morris. Cindy Munoz. Leslie Munoz. Leanne Francis Murphy. Tiana Lynn Nichols. J. Douglas Nyman. Emmeline Carrie Grace O'Brien. Kyle Matthew Odell. Savannah Marie Orsund. Brene Cami Ozenbaugh. Gabrielle Rose Pierce. Mariah James Plunkett. Deja Nachelle Pompey. Samantha Nicole Pranger. Kylie K. Rhodes. Tucker Jonathan Reisner. Jacob James Ross. Mason Tate Ryans. Mia Rose Santiago. Cole Wayne Sarber. Kevin Patrick Schmalzried. Matthew Davidson Schultz. Eugene Richard Lynn Scott. Arden Brooke Scutchfield. Jocelyn Kamla Setner. Eric Michael Schertz. Christiana Dawn Smith. Stephen Sloan Spatafora. Marceline May Sparks. Andrew Michael Spear. Alyssa Nicole Stambaugh. Naya Dawn Taylor. Alexis Faith Tillman. Kylie Ann Toth. Garrett Jordan Van Gundy. Hunter Jeffrey Verhage. Taylor Ann Verhage. Samantha Christine Weller. Connor James Wenger. Adam Michael Wiley. Dakota Lane Worthington. Nathan Bradley Young. Madison May Ziolkowski. Preston Nash Ziolkowski. Would the graduating students please stand?
It is with great pleasure, members of the John Glenn class of 2018, I declare you graduates of John Glenn High School. Congratulations.
It is my duty and honor as president of the class of 2018 to announce that we are now graduates of John Glenn High School. Will you please take your tassel with your right hand and move it to the left with me? This signifies our graduation from high school. On behalf of my classmates, I would like to thank everyone for being here this day to support and honor John Glenn's graduating class of 2018. Please remain seated until the recessional is complete. Thank you.